I am very honored this afternoon to introduce the Honourable Donna Harpauer, Minister of Government Relations. This is the first time that Minister Harpauer has addressed SUMA delegates since she was appointed as Minister of Government Relations and Minister responsible for First Nations, Métis and Northern Affairs in August of 2016. Though she is relatively new to the post, Minister Harpauer has already engaged with the SUMA Board of Directors a few times, and we are pleased to have her with us at convention, engaging with you, the members of SUMA. So delegates, even though it's a cold afternoon here in Saskatchewan, please join me in welcoming our Minister, Honourable Donna Harpauer.
Well, thank you so much, Randy, and I want to tell you that it's a pleasure for me to be here. And yes, this is my first time to address the entire delegation of SUMA as the minister responsible, but I can say that I've attended a number of SUMA functions over the years and been very engaged with municipal leaders in my own constituency. I haven't breathed municipal governance and administration the way the former minister did. He always said this was his dream portfolio, and because he had so much fun, now he's got health. So I'm not going to say I'm having big fun, but really I am, but I'm scared I might get health next, so I'm going to be really, really, really careful. But, you know, through my experience just in living in Saskatchewan my entire life, and through my other portfolios, I held social services, Crown Investments Corporation, and education. I think that I've gained a good appreciation of what the municipal level of government does and how they serve their citizens, and we have the same common citizens. So before I go any further with my remarks, I want to congratulate all the new mayors and councillors who have successful in the municipal election in the fall. And I also want to say welcome back to all of those that have served before and continue to serve. And I think we have a congratulations to the new SUMA president in Gordon Barnhart. In my time with you this afternoon, I'd like to talk about initiatives and work being done by the Ministry of Government Relations and to touch on some of the challenges we both face. And I know you heard a lot of that from the Premier yesterday. What I've learned over the years, and especially during my time as an elected politician, is just how important municipal governments are in the lives of our Canadians or Saskatchewan citizens, and that you, the members of SUMA, are the front line in delivering services to many of the people in the province. Our government has always recognized the importance of the work that you do, and we recognize how important it is to support you as best we can on initiatives and services such as revenue sharing, infrastructure funding, community planning, and municipal governance. I hope, as Minister, to continue building on the work of the predecessors in this portfolio and to be always mindful that SUMA is a very important partner for our government. I've had, as Randy noted, I've had some very, very good initial informal meetings, not only with the SUMA board, but also with the City Mayor's Caucus in mid-November. And these conversations need to continue to happen, not just in the formal setting of this room, but also the informal meetings where dialogue maybe is a little more freer and open, and I think those conversations are extremely important. I also have the responsibility of the First Nations file, and I want to make note that the meetings, formal and not formal, with our Northern leaders and our First Nation leaders are also extremely important to me. I've taken up the mantle of Government Relations Minister at a time when our government and your governments face some fiscal challenges. And Premier Bradwell dealt with those challenges at some length in his address to you yesterday. To echo his message, we have an economy that's strong. It's more diversified and more resilient than it was a decade ago, and we have growth in exports, we have growth in population, and despite the challenges that we may have with this present crop, we have a very strong agriculture sector. But our resource industry has taken a hit in the world markets, and the drop in the prices of our major commodities has definitely had an impact in terms of job losses, economic activity slowdown, and pressures on the provincial treasury. In the 2017-18 provincial budget comes down on March 22nd, and it's no secret that it's going to be a tough budget. We brought in restraint measures across government in our current fiscal year, and austerity will obviously be a watchword in the coming fiscal year, not only for us, but we're asking that it also be for all of you. These more challenging times are causing us in the provincial government to ask even more the fundamental questions of what is the core services of government and how are we delivering those services. Government services are being put under a microscope and a sharper fiscal sustainability lens than ever before, and that's the concept of transformational change. We're looking at innovative ways that programs can be delivered with better results and less cost, realizing savings to taxpayers, but we're still mindful that we need to deliver the services for our people in our province. Our ministry is obviously part of those change deliberations, and I am well aware that every one of you in this room is wondering how revenue sharing will be impacted. We've stated on more than one occasion that everything is on the table in these challenging times, and I'm not about to engage in a speculation with you that what will happen in 6 weeks' time before the budget, but I can say this to you. We do understand that revenue sharing is a program that's fundamental to you and your budgets, and it's a core commitment from our government to you. In this tough budget year, we were able to provide a record $271.6 million to municipalities in municipal revenue sharing. Cities, towns, villages, resort villages, and northern municipalities are receiving nearly $195 million in total. Revenue sharing has increased more than 113% since 2007-8 when our government took office. As you already know, with no changes, there will be a reduction in the revenue sharing projected to be in 2017-18 because our PST numbers are down. With that, I'm going to turn to a few observations and other programs that is delivered through the Ministry of Government Relations. The infrastructure programs we administer and the infrastructure funding we provide are also of critical importance to your municipal governments, and we continue to engage with you and rely on your leadership on what is needed in infrastructure in the municipal level. Back in September, we signed a 3-year agreement with the federal government for the Clean Water, Wastewater, and Public Transit Infrastructure Funds, Phase 1 of the federal government's funding commitment. And then in December, we opened up a new intake for the Clean Water, Wastewater Fund and the Provincial Territorial Infrastructure component of the new Building Canada Fund, and I swear this ministry has the longest names for programs I've ever had to deal with. That intake closed on Wednesday, so I want to thank everyone who submitted project applications, and we will be vetting those in the next couple of weeks as to what projects will qualify that we will then submit to the federal government. Our agreement with the federal government on the Clean Water Wastewater Fund requires us to provide a project list for the remaining money by mid-March. So that's obviously a priority of what our government needs to be doing right now. And I want you all to know that we still don't know what the federal government's plan is for Phase 2 of the infrastructure funding. We suspect that they may be announcing that in their budget this spring. So once they have made an announcement of what Phase 2 will be, we will let you and SARM and the New North know what information we have as we get it. Community planning is another area of interest to use. And you are well aware that our ministry is currently engaged in working with amendments to the Planning and Development Act 2007. We need to keep the legislation current so that it supports sustained economic growth and addresses the challenges associated with that growth. We've had some very good early consultations. We consider those pre-consultations with groups, including SUMA, around the potential amendments, and the discussions focused on the themes of regional planning provisions, servicing agreement fees, municipal reserves and school sites, and the planning to proximity to railroad operations. We're going to be continuing those consultations with you and other organizations on the Act throughout 2017. There are 3 additional initiatives that we're undertaking within the ministry, and one of those is looking at the Elections Act. As I mentioned earlier, the fall municipal elections just happened, and those were the first election, or elections under the new Elections Act. So following the election, my officials did a survey of the municipalities of their experiences under the new legislation and regulations. We had a lot of very good feedback from different people around this room on what they felt worked, what wasn't working, but we're still looking for more comments on how well the Act worked, and suggestions of how we can improve the Act when we decide to open and revisit it once again. Second, and this is really exciting, so everybody's just, sit on the edge of your seats. I can report to you that the latest edition of the National Building Code, the National Fire Code, and the National Energy Building Code, or Code for Buildings, is proposed for adoption in our province on July 1st. And finally, we're continuing to work with you in the months ahead on shared approaches to flooding and disaster mitigation efforts. Based on our experiences with the major flooding in 2014 and fires in 2015, we've had initial meetings with you and SUMA, along with city managers and 2 municipal administrator associations and your colleagues in SARM, to see if we can come up with a more holistic approach to dealing with disasters down the road, and hopefully we have very few, but we always need to be prepared and we need to address them as well as possible. So we're going to continue to be consulting and taking suggestions from this room and others as to what we can do better when we are addressing disasters around our province. So, although brief, but I think the Premier covered a lot of ground yesterday, this pretty much wraps up my first formal address to you as the new minister. I'm probably the last time I can play the new girl card of government relations. But I hope to have many more occasions in order to have dialogue with you in groups or as individuals, and most definitely with your board, because I think those conversations are extremely important to understand mutual concerns and issues that we work on together. So we really value the advocacy role that you play and the principled positions that you take on the many issues and the partnership that our government has forged with you. So let me close with remarks of a football reference of sorts, one that I used recently when I addressed the Saskatchewan Chamber of Commerce. And we all remember the 4 Grey Cups that Saskatchewan Rough Riders have won, admittedly. 2013, Grey Cup is now becoming a faded memory, but we still bleed green. Come on. And shortly after the Riders won their 3rd Grey Cup in 2007, then Rider veteran and my good friend and colleague, Jean Murkowski, used a well-known saying in this province and elsewhere in describing what the victory meant to the championship-starved fans of our team. And he said this, he said, "Tough times don't last, but tough people do." There's no question we're going to get through the challenging times right now, and our economy fundamentally is sound and well-positioned, and we have what the world wants. And we're going to come through this period just fine, thanks to the committed, innovative, and above all, tough people we have in this province and in this room. Thank you so very much for having me here.
Thank you very much, Minister. We certainly appreciate the time you have given with us. We know you're going to be back tomorrow. But I have to say, in the quote from your friend and one of our favorite football players of all times in this province, with tough times, and I just want to reiterate that, yes, indeed, tough times, and we have the tough people that are going to make our province succeed and grow right here in this room, sitting around our urban municipal tables all around this province. Do I have agreement? And these tough people are taking that message back. They've been working on our budgets for this next year. We understand the 5.1% decrease, and we know what that means to our communities, and we've done those reviews, and we've done examinations in our own community about what we can change, what we can make better, where we can take decreases. So I look forward to, as a SUMA board member, having these discussions with you in the future. And as a gift and a thank you to you, something very precious to me, a donation in the name of Mike Badham's scholarship to the U of R. So please know that we're doing this because of the passion you show, just as Mike did to the people of Saskatchewan.
Thank you.